Hello, welcome to The Trews. Today we're talking about the reaction to our Jihadi John episode of The Trews, where it's claimed that I said, Britain's to blame for Jihadi John's beheadings. Let's have a look at what I actually said. People in secular societies in general are feeling a sense of alienation, and the impulse that leads in extreme cases people to cross the sea and join ISIS, in less obvious cases leads people to take drugs, leads people to drink, leads people to consume, leads people to vote for right-wing organisations, leads people to football violence. But our social narrative can incorporate those phenomena. We are, oh look, homelessness, yeah, we have homelessness, that's a thing we have. Oh, drug addiction, that's a thing we have. Racism, that's a thing we have. People are going, oh, I see chopping people. What? The record gets scratched off because it can't be incorporated into the main narrative of apathy, alienation, isolation. So the fuel for this phenomena is felt by a lot more people. It's merely an extreme example of something that's commonly understood, that our cultural story at the moment makes no sense. The Mirror. Russell Brand has blamed Britain for jihadism. So they're trying to make it like I'm going, so hello, you're in your allotment in Grimsby. Aye. You're to blame for jihadism. What, me? I was just trying to grow these leeks. No, you're to blame for Jihadi John. So like by saying it's Britain, corrupt political establishment that serves corporate elites, that causes foreign wars, that creates alienation in domestic communities, that creates political apathy, does lead to extremism. It takes longer to say that because it's more complicated, but I think you just heard is distinct from saying that some housewife in Surrey watering the plants on her windowsill is responsible for Jihadi John. It's not what I'm saying. Am I? We contacted Russell's reps for comment. Why bother? Why don't you just hack into my answer phone like you normally do, you corrupt hacking scum? Russell Brand is the exact type to be radicalised by ISIS. Brand claimed radicalisation of the Islamic State executioner Mohammed Anwazi is Britain's fault. It's weird, isn't it? Because the media is this sort of reductive simplification format. It has to go, well, what did he actually say? Well, it was quite complex and nuanced. Can we simplify it? Well, of course we can. That's our job. What I'm saying is that when stuff like this happens, you have to seek to explain it if you want to end it. What they're sort of saying, I'm saying, is it's good that Jihadi John is doing that. I'm not saying it's good. Let's all agree that beheading is wrong, whether it's Jihadi John beheading or Saudi Arabian government that has deeply entrenched business relationships with the government of the UK and America. What the media engages in is the removal of nuance and the simplification of a narrative, and what we at The Trews are trying to do is expand your knowledge and expand the context, or at least explain the context in which these events occur. One Twitter user said he made a good point. If our politics isn't fit to save the problems, then that leads to radicalisation. I suppose when the systems that are in place prevent people from having engagement or involvement and don't serve people, then other options will be explored. When has terrorism ever emerged in history? For example, with the ANC, led by Nelson Mandela. The ANC became a terrorist organisation because the routes of diplomacy weren't open to them. Gandhi was regarded as a terrorist because the routes of diplomacy and negotiation weren't open to him. Now, I'm not saying Jihadi John is the next Gandhi. I'm saying the phenomenon of extreme violence is a consequence of a lack of diplomacy and negotiation. In such instances, fragile, unstable, violent people will flourish. So to minimise the damage done by violent, unstable people, we, the not violent and stable, and I include myself in that, even though I'm an ideal candidate for ISIS according to some media outlets, we have to work on providing a context in which these conditions can be controlled. The Daily Mail, jihadism is corrupt Britain's fault. But let's have a closer look at what people are saying on the Daily Mail website. This is the comment section of the Daily Mail website. Going into here, you must be brave. This is as dangerous as going into Syria to unpick the damage being done by corporate interests overseas. Stop giving him airtime and column space as the man is an illiterate fool. And yet I just read that. Brand's parents have a lot to answer for. They do actually. Mum, can I see you this Saturday? And Dad, do you want to come to football? Abe the babe in Kent says, oh dear. which is the response of most people to most news around the world. Oh dear, there's nothing we can do. Disturbing how a comedian's opinion gets taken so seriously. Yeah, we should be listening to the opinion of tax-evading Lord Rothermere, who's a non-dom in this country, who doesn't pay tax in this country that he claims to love. Or we should be listening to the Daily Mail, who in the 30s supported Adolf Hitler. Or we should be supporting and listening to Rupert Murdoch, who has gas interests in Syria while perpetuating wars against terror and disturbing domestic populations. Yeah, what business have ordinary people got? We should leave politics to rich super conglomerate leaders like Murdoch and Rothermere. The Independents say Russell Brand argues Nick Clegg could join ISIS because he's alienated, lost his ideology and has made more corrupt political alliances. Now what that is a joke. I'm saying that the Conservative Party is a more corrupt political alliance than ISIS. I know the Conservative Party are closing down hospitals, selling arms around the world to people on their own human rights abusers list, but well, actually, they might be worse than ISIS. Maybe it wasn't a joke. Maybe by joking, I accidentally told the truth. Boris Johnson, meanwhile, blasted human rights group Cage, good organisation. Let's have a look at what Boris Johnson said on this subject.
I really think that the focus of your indignation and your outrage should be on people who go out to join groups that behead people who don't subscribe.
Do subscribe. Subscribe here.
To their version of Islam.
It's almost as if, like, what Boris Johnson's saying is there's some function to indignation. Like, let's use our indignation correctly and wisely. Well, if indignation's to have a function, like to bring about change, like being indignant that things are I'm indignant! Unless you're going to do anything, it doesn't matter what you're being in your front room by your TV set. But if actually what you're interested in directly addressing this problem, you have to look at the conditions that creates it. And if you believe, as Boris Johnson claims to, but I don't think he really does, Boris Johnson's a smart man, that people just emerge, these independent pods of rage emerge in isolation, then yeah, just like go, oh right, if we get rid of Jihadi John, that's the end of this problem. Oh good, dealt with. Oh look, someone else is doing it, and someone else is doing it, and someone else is doing it. It's happening all around the world. So it's a global problem. What's the global context? It's a context that Boris Johnson will never talk about because he benefits from it, because he's part of that elite. He's educated at the same place. He has the same business allegiances. He has the same interests. Boris Johnson's a bigger problem than Jihadi John.
That glorify in the execution of innocent journalists and aid workers. They should be the object of your wrath.
What he's saying is exactly wrong. Of course you condemn people who are violent, but you look at why they're violent in order to stop the violence. That's why. It's not so that we can be kind and cuddle kittens. No, in order to stop the problem. In order to stop the problem. The mentality of Boris Johnson creates more problems. The allegiances of Boris Johnson creates more problems. The activities of organisations that he belongs to, that he supports, create these problems. Boris Johnson grows Jihadi Johns. He's a Jihadi John machine. Jihadi John's just one. Once Jihadi John's dead, that's the end of Jihadi John. But Boris Johnson can create thousands of others. So look at the actuality of what I said about Jihadi John, that Jihadi John doesn't come from nowhere, he comes from somewhere, that we are all connected in one way or another. And if we connect this aspect of ourselves that is compassionate and seeking a solution together, then we will find that solution. If we condemn individuals and put a full stop after it, we're not going to get anywhere. That's some true news. Subscribe here.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some trews. Let's have some trews.